Hi guys, Justin here from Comic Sense QC. Let's talk about the hottest thing in comics right now.
I have no intro music. This is what you get. Maybe to be great, who knows? To grade or not to grade? This is the question. I started this channel originally with the idea of offering my best financial advice when it comes to comic investing, which sounds like a joke nowadays. Comic investing it's a hit or miss a lot of times. But right now we're going to focus on the idea of modern books. I mean, I know that modern books is technically anything after 1975, which covers a lot of ground. But I get this question at work all the time because we offer grading services through CGC. We used to do CBCS as well, but ever since CGC partnered with JSA, we no longer need CBCS, plus nobody likes their slab. And when I say slab, for those watching the video who may not know what the hell I'm talking about, this is a slab. This is a CGC slab. So the book, when graded, goes inside a sealed plastic little sleeve, and then that sleeve goes inside said plastic case. It gets a grade, and then that tells the world what your book is, grade-wise. This is just for the people who want to know whether or not they should grade their books. Now, obviously, the first question is, are you going to sell it? Well, some people grade because they want to sell the book. Some people grade because they just want to keep the book nice. For example, this is, I know a lot of people don't think it's a very expensive book, and it's my prized possession. This is my G.I. Joe #1, signed by Larry Hama, certified in-house witnessed signing by CGC, and it came in at 9.8. Now, for those who don't know, a 9.8 is the acceptable mint grade for a comic book. There are very few 9.9s, and there's hardly any 10s. So a 9.8 in the comic book world is perfectly acceptable mint copy, and it's what gets you the average most money. With comic books, graded ones especially, if you don't have a 9.8 and it's considered to be a modern book, not having a 9.8, people go, well, you should have a 9.8, and if I was going to buy this book, I would buy a 9.8. I wouldn't waste my time with anything else. So that's where we get in this really interesting gray area of whether or not the book is worth grading, especially if you're looking to get a return on your investment. Now, a modern book to grade, standard book grade, I don't have one here, I have two in front of me that are signed, comes with a blue label, and it costs us $25 to $27, depending on how CGC feels this week, to send that book and have it graded. Our shop in particular, I don't charge anything extra because I usually send in 50 books at a time. So on average, if you submit a book through CGC using where I work, where I volunteer, it will cost you $27 for a modern book, and then there's other prices. So let's say you want to sell a book. Okay, you've got this. This is a raw book, by the way, for those who want to know all the terminologies. A raw book is just a bagged and board book. This is a sealed, graded book. We got that down. Okay, terminology, the lawyer speak is out of the way. When it comes to modern books, especially anything, God, I would say 90s and beyond, especially the 90s and beyond, when people were collecting like it was a career choice. Okay, they were stacking books in their house, buying multiple copies of everything. It was the height of sales. I mean, X-Men set the record with their #1 issue in 92 where it sold 7 million copies. Granted, they cheated. They cheated. They had 4 copies. They had a gatefold cover. Everything had a poster inside of it, and they were all different. That means every collector was buying 10 copies. You cheated, Marvel. But good on you. I'm a marketing guy, and I love the idea that you sold 7 million copies on an average, probably 8 to 10 to every single customer. So, moving on. Those books should be mint all the time. I mean, if you're buying or selling a book in the modern age and it's not a 9.8, you're not going to realize very much money because the customer is expecting to get a 9.8. A 9.8 is the top of the market line. That's your highest dollar value. A 9.9 and a 10, if you actually do find one of those, that's you can set your own price with that kind of thing because there really are no comparables, and it really depends on the market. In 2020, books were selling for 3 times their normal value because everybody had money to throw around. Now we're back to where we were. So a 9.8 is the industry standard high price. 9.6 will drop exponentially down. It'll be a huge drop. Okay, so here's where your decision-making process comes in, because not only do we offer grading services through CGC, we actually have an in-house press and cleaning guy who works. I like to say I keep him on retainer because we do incredible favors for him. He does favors for us, and he sells his services out to our customers and anybody who wants to grade a book. He charges $15 a book, or he charges $10 a book if you bring him 10 or more. So you take, to figure out if a book is worth it, okay, you have to decide whether or not you really think it's going to get a 9.8. That's a big part of it. You have to decide, where is this grade going to fall? I have been told, and I don't know if I believe this, but I have been told that when a book comes in, it gets a preliminary inspection grade from one of their younger people, and then it goes to a more experienced grader, and he does the evaluation, he or she, and then that final thing is either approved or rechecked and changed by a master or veteran grader who knows what they're doing. Let's hope. They do offer a service called pre-screening, where you send the book in, and instead of paying $27 to have it graded no matter what, you can say, well, if this is not a 9.8, then don't bother grading it, and then they charge you $9 for the opportunity to have it looked at and have it decided upon. Here's how we decide the value. Take the value of the book. Say you spent $20 on this book, or say it has a street value of, let's say it has a street value of $50. Okay, so this book, if you put it on eBay and you got someone to buy it and they gave you a fair price, let's say you would get $50 for this book, $50. Let's say you bought it cover price originally and it was $3.99 or $4.99. Okay, so let's say you're into this book for $45, or you're into this book for $5. You could potentially make $45, but it's more likely going to be $40, especially if you're selling it on a website. You got to pay commissions and taxes and whatever they do. So let's say the top dollar you're going to make on a book is $40. Okay. Now let's say the 9.8. The 9.8 is going to get you $150. So now you're looking at potentially $140, a little bit more. Okay. So now you have to decide whether or not you want to grade it. So let's add it up. You're into it for $5, just make it 5. If it's a good book, it's probably $5. You then have to spend $27 to have it graded. Now you're into it for 32? No, 31? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 32. $32. Okay, let's say you want to have it pressed first, because if you want a 9.8, you're going to need to get it pressed, because they will find anything wrong with it. And if you got a good guy, like we got, you'll get an excellent pressing job. Okay, that's going to cost you $15. So you got 27. I'm going to need a calculator here. You're going to need $27 plus $15, 30, $42. Plus you're into the book, so $47. So that's your total overall cost is $47. Okay? And if the top dollar for this book at 9.8 is $150, you're looking at basically you're looking at net about $100. Okay? So that's how you have to decide whether or not something is worth grading. Am I gonna realize enough money on this to make it worth the time to get it pressed, get it graded, get it back? If you make $100 on it, great. That's a lot more than making $45 on it if you sell it raw. Now, I have advised some of our best clients to not send books in, because there's a lot of times where you'll get a book where, say the book sells for $40 raw, okay, but a 9.8 will get you $80 to $90. Well, then you're spending, if you want to do everything right, you're spending, what do we say it was? 27, let's say, just say 25. 25 plus 15 is 40, plus an extra $5, $45 to the book. Now you're looking to realize what? $45, maybe $50. So is it better to sell it raw, or is it better to take the time to have it graded and potentially get a 9.6 or lower? That's the big conundrum. And I try to advise people, say, listen, if it's not a significant amount of money, it really is up to you. And if it's going to be if I send it in for pre-screen and I spend $9 and I get it back and I know how much it's worth, then you can put it on eBay and say, well, I've only got 9 plus the 5, $14 into this book. So if I sell it for 40 now, I'm still making some money, even though it did not. And I know it's not a 9.8, but the customer on eBay doesn't know it's not a 9.8. A lot of times they see good pictures and they go, that looks like a 9.8 to me. And for whatever reason, you got it back and it didn't pass the grade. Now, the buyer takes all that risk. If you're going to realize enough to make it worth grading, then that's how you make your decision. I always like to do my market research too, because if say I want to sell this G.I. Joe, which I'll never do it. This is going in my coffin. Although my children love them to death. told me one day, we talked about selling my entire collection when I eventually leave this mortal coil, and they said, no, Dad, we're going to build you a pyramid, put all your shit in there. I says, that's the best damn thing I've ever heard in my life. I says, make Mom pay for it. Advice: if you're looking to preserve your collection so that someday when you leave, your children or whoever you leave the collection will have an easier time selling it if they decide that they're not into comics or if they never get that. It's something you can leave behind. Grading is a good way to ensure that they will not get ripped off by a guy like me who undercuts them on the value of the collection so that I can make a bigger, they can make a bigger chunk of money, the person buying the collection. Okay, they'll say they can go on eBay, they can type in G.I. Joe #1, 1982, I hope it's 82. I'd really be, it's 82, June 82, 9.8. And they can search that, and they can go down on the left-hand side of the column. For you guys, it would be over here, and click the sold tab. And that will take you to a page of every book that matches this description, what it's sold for, and it will give you the most recent sold, and then on the way down. I usually take the last 3 that have sold, and I do bidded price. Bidded price generally gives you the real market value of anything you're trying to sell. Add them together, divide by 3. That'll give your average. Okay, so you can do 5 if you want to get really nitty-picky about it and get an accurate reading. And you take that average, and that's your price. So when your son or your daughter or your cat is trying to get rid of your collection because they need money for drugs, I'm just kidding. They can take this information from this book. They can sell this for top dollar because they know how much it is, how much it's worth. Nobody can come in and say, well, he's got some cracks here and it'll not quite mint and blah, blah, blah. No, it's been set in stone. It's got a good grade. And I know that the grade, I said earlier, the grading is a crapshoot, but it is still, CGC is still accepted as the standard for a grade in this market. There hasn't been, I know PSA just announced they're going to grade comics. Good luck. Good luck, PSA. You're trying to break into a market where people will pay more just because this is the label on the book. Okay, a CGC book will realize almost 20% more on the open market than a CBCS book, and that is some sad shit. CBCS is pretty accurate. Their slab doesn't look as good as this. It's a more secure slab, but it doesn't look as shiny, and the label is better on this one. So yeah, PSA is trying to break in, but that's kind of the gist of it, guys. To grade or not to grade, it really depends on what your situation is. We've got guys who are grading these books right now, older books, because they're selling them to pay for their vacations and their little trips and stuff. They come in, they grade 2 or 3 at a time, they make a couple $1,000s because they have old books and they're worth a lot of money. Don't get excited. And they, take a little trip, come back. I do it every year. There's a lot of times, I call them flip grades, where, what's a great example? Here's a great example. They did a Summer of Superman book, and it had this beautiful Supergirl cover. If you go on my Instagram and scroll down, you'll see it. It's real long blonde hair. She just looks great. Great artist's impression of Supergirl. I sent 10 of those in for pre-screen grades, thinking, well, I'll pay $9 on the ones that don't make it. I got all 10 of them back in 9/8, and I flipped every single one of them. So that's the grading flipper dream right there, is to take a brand new book that I paid, whatever I paid for it, send it in, pay to have it graded, flip it, and I profit like $50 per book after, taxes and fees and all that crap. That's something else. And if I had to give advice on something like that, I would have to say, covers. I mean, the market today, there's a lot of great books, but man, I'll tell you what, in the old days, the advice I would give is look at Marvel and DC and keep an eye on like first appearances, like something big happening. But honestly, that's not it anymore. People want rare books, like hard to finds, and if it's really pretty, because people you could see past the mess behind me. There's in older videos, there's a whole wall of graded books that are my favorite visual candy, if you will, and I keep those there as decorations. So a lot of people will buy something and they think the cover is gorgeous, grade it, and then they'll display it. So I try, if I see a beautiful cover come through, I'll buy 10. It doesn't cost me very much. Send them all in to be graded, get them back, and then we flip them, because that's what business is. And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about whether you should grade or not grade. My advice is, if it's really special to you and you want to keep it preserved, like you're going to keep this book, it might be in your interest to grade it, especially since it's less than $30. Nowadays, considering the inflation we've all had to go through in the last 5 years, $30 is nothing for something like this. Don't go crazy and send your entire collection in. I know that they offer bulk pricing, but what's a couple of extra dollars instead of, you could send in 50 books at 25 a piece, or you could send in 5 books at 27 a piece. It ain't that big of a deal. I wouldn't spend the extra money. But yeah, do a little research on eBay, type in your book, see what it's going for. And honestly, it's not something that I can teach with older books. Like, okay, say Miles Morales, Spider-Man first appearance. I think it's Ultimate Fallout number 4. That's the first appearance of Miles. That book, I think it topped out around $1,000. I think I might be wrong. It might be more than that, but I know it's sitting down. It's sitting down right now at a decent price. But that's the kind of book where the price over time it'll fluctuate, but it'll generally stay pretty steady. Now there are books that people think are going to be great, and then they turn out to be shit. And I have the best example of this. It's the greatest example in the world because I made so much money off this book. It's so stupid. Avenging Spider-Man number 9, where they debuted Captain Marvel's costume before her number 1 came out, debuting the costume. It first showed up in Avenging Spider-Man number 9. This was the costume that they had her wearing in the movie. And everybody was excited about the movie. And then the movie turned out to be meh. And the character turned out to be meh. And everybody stopped caring her. I sold this book at a 9.8 for $650. You can buy it right now on eBay for less than $100. Humans. That's my evil laugh. No. So it really is all over the place. So let's break it down. If you want to be the kind of person who flips their books and makes money, just do your research. Look at what the book is selling for. Estimate what you think your grade is going to be, and then go research books that are lower than that. Because say you want to send the book in, what's your bottom dollar you're willing to accept? Will a 9.0 get you there? Well, then it may be worth it to you. If you're grading for yourself, grade for yourself. There's nothing to stop there. I mean, this is a great way to preserve a book. They make hard cases to store all these nicely. I have 3 or 4 of my own over here that I keep my best books in, just because I don't have a lot of graded stuff. That's pretty much it, guys. I mean, if you're enjoying what I'm saying to you guys, please like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to keep doing videos on as many things as I can think of. I think we're going to talk about the Marvel event coming up here pretty soon, so keep an eye out for that video. But hey, guys, have a great night. We'll talk to you next time.